Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Vulnerability Time Podcast. I am your host and PhD student and author, Josias Abriel, and it is good to be back, ain't it? Alrighty, folks. So, few things before we get the episode started. One, you are loved. Two, if you're subscribed on YouTube, that is beautiful. Stay subscribed on YouTube, but also subscribe on Apple or Spotify or another platform in addition, just because sometimes YouTube skips certain episodes and sometimes it doesn't. And it's really weird. I don't know how to fix that. It's on their end, not my end. So I don't know how to fix that. I reached out to someone. They should be working on it, but I don't want y'all to miss any episodes. It doesn't happen too often, but just in case, subscribe elsewhere. Last and third thing is go ahead and go on Spotify and Apple or YouTube and share the podcast and leave a review. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts if you can. It helps the algorithm, and just know that when you folks help the algorithm, you're also helping heal someone's life, save someone's life, encourage someone's life, uplift someone, help someone feel loved, all because you help the algorithm. So thank you folks for doing that. And with that being said, folks, enjoy the episode. Alrighty, everyone. So with us today, we have a new special guest, Dr. Rachel. Dr. Rachel, welcome to the Vulnerability Time Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Yay. Okay, so before we get into our talking point and topics, Dr. Rachel, I want you to tell us a little bit about you. What are some hobbies, any work you have coming out? What do you do for work? Things, if you, whatever you want to share.
Sure. Well, let's see. I'm a clinical psychologist and a certified emotionally focused couples therapist. And I have a private practice based out of Washington State. And then I also am a relationship coach, and I am figuring out some offers. I have an upcoming group experience that's going to be starting probably in the fall that I'm really excited about. Um, as far as hobbies, I'm actually a tango dancer.
Oh, that is so amazing. How long have you been doing that?
Well, I started doing it probably in 2017,
Mhm.
and then the pandemic made it not
Mm,
not so likely that I would go out and dance really close to other people, and then
mhm, mhm.
I had a baby, and staying up late at night to go dancing isn't as fun in that sense, but I'm hoping to get back to it soon.
Oh, we love that. And you also are a cat person. We see a cat in the photo, in the video.
I am a cat person. My cat Hank might be periodically jumping up on my lap and give a little meow.
Oh, we love cats over here, everyone. Alrighty, well, thank you for sharing. Okay, so today our talking points slash topics are how couples work in an attachment framework and how our personal systems create or break. Oh, which do you want to start? Which topic do you want to start at first?
Um, let's talk about relational systems and how attachment feeds into that.
Fabulous. So why that topic? What's the story, either your story or the story behind it? Take us through that journey. Why that topic?
Yeah. So back in my career infancy, I was actually a health psychologist,
Mm,
and I worked in medical and hospital settings. And it wasn't really a career that was feeding my soul at the
mm,
time. It didn't feel like I was doing what I wanted to do. So I left that job and I went into a private practice, and they're like, "So what do you do?" And I'm like, I work with couples. And they're like, great, we need one of those. So I got hired based on something I actually didn't have much training in.
Mhm.
And then I started seeing couples, and that was great. And later that year, I was living with someone, I was in a relationship, and we started having problems.
Mhm.
And we started seeing a couples therapist, and she was a emotionally focused couples therapist, EFT, and recommended the book Hold Me Tight by Sue Johnson. And I probably read it in 2 days. And
Mhm.
it just felt like she was my soul sister. And
Mhm.
I was just eating up everything that she was writing about. And we went to therapy for a few months. It didn't end up working for us, which ultimately was the best decision. But
Mhm.
as we were breaking up, I was like, I need to get more training in this. This is what I need to do.
Mhm.
And I looked it up as a way to get out of the house. And what do you know? Sue Johnson, who created EFT, happened to be in Boston that very weekend, and I was able to go to a workshop
Wow.
that she taught. And the rest is really history. And the way it really resonated with me was just looking at how these parts of us that ultimately want love and want
Mhm.
connection get so scared by vulnerability and
Mhm.
then go into protection. And the way we protect is really based on how we were brought up. And that can include um, our family dynamics, like how were emotions talked about or
Mhm.
not talked about, as is
Right.
often the case. If you were emotional, how did your parents react? How did your other caregivers react? Or culture, what were the messages? Back in the day, the boys don't cry was a big
Mhm.
message that led a lot of men to hold in their feelings and not have needs or wants, or at least they didn't talk about them
Right.
because that
Right.
was too vulnerable and too soft.
Right.
And so as we go through our brains and our bodies are basically getting programmed
Mhm.
to respond to vulnerability in certain ways so that we don't get hurt.
Mm.
And that is often what creates the conflict between two people who love each other so much and get into big escalated conflict.
Yeah. Wow. And how so in relationships, how important is it to, and why is it so important for each other to understand the inner child, right? Because that was the one that was raised in that household, where it was taught either secure attachments, anxious attachments, things of that nature, all the any attachment styles, right?
Yeah.
So how and why that is that important for couples to dig deep and understand where that's coming from for themselves and their understanding their partners.
You know, in the therapy world, that becomes part of what we do, which is to kind of go
Mm,
backwards and see where that formed.
mm,
And I think that I think that there is value to that, right? I'm a
mhm,
therapist. I think that there is value to understanding your history and in some ways having your partner understand it too,
mhm,
so that they can have more compassion for certain reactions that may come up, even the
mhm,
ones that are still hurtful. And also, for those out there that are like, I don't want to go deep and I don't want to go backwards and I don't want to know,
mm,
you don't necessarily have to,
mm,
because all of those things are playing out in the room today.
mm,
And so if you can understand what is happening today that is triggering this protective response, that why do I go into criticism? Why do I yell? Why do I leave the room? Why do I go quiet?
mm,
All of these things are happening now. And would it be helpful for an individual to understand their background to become more aware? Yes, and also maybe, but it's not, I don't think it's 100% necessary, because what we're working on and we're working on changing is this cycle that's happening in present time.
Mm. Right. Oh, that's a great point. Oh my gosh, I never thought about it like that. Oh, interesting. So, talk about how different attachment styles show up in relationships.
Yeah. Well, actually, even though this is based on attachment, I don't often use the, secure, anxious, avoidant attachment,
Oh.
although I do, but not always in my work.
Mhm.
I think of it often as like this pursue withdraw pattern.
Oh.
And even if you have two avoidants together, or two anxious people together, often we still see this pattern emerge in some way. And what that means is one person deals with the stress of disconnection by pursuing, which might mean reaching out, getting angry, being critical, asking a lot of questions, needing to talk about it right now or fix it. And the other person is more of a withdrawer, and they may leave the room, stay quiet, get flooded really easily, so actually not have access to words. And their ultimate goal, so the pursuer's ultimate goal is trying to reconnect.
Mhm.
And then the withdrawer's ultimate goal is trying to stay safe, both themselves and their relationship, because there's a part of them that is terrified of failure. And if they do anything and fail that moment, then their relationship is at risk. Their partner could pull away from them. Their partner could get angrier, and that would feel really unsafe. And so there's this flow that happens where one person is pushing for connection and the other person is pulling away, not because they don't want it, but because they're scared of messing it up.
Interesting. That makes a lot of sense. I thought about someone in my past, and I was like, I wonder if that was the case. So how can a couple, you know, move forward with that, right? With these two, one trying to save it and one needing the communication there. Like, how can they move forward? Can they move forward?
Absolutely. It's the bread and butter of all EFT therapists, is to help couples who have different approaches to staying safe. And you know, basically the first step is understanding what your protection is. What is it? What is it scared of? What is it trying to say? What is coming out through it? So, if I see something on my partner's face, like a facial expression, then all of a sudden I get scared. And I get scared because what it says to me is I just failed.
Hmm.
Then what then I go into protection. So what is my protection? That might be shutting down, staying quiet, don't rock the boat, trying to problem solve. Well, if I can just fix whatever I did wrong, then they won't be upset.
Mhm.
Or it can be um, explaining. If I tell my partner why I did that, then they won't be so hurt by it anymore.
Mhm.
And so there's whatever their protection is, it is also impeding the closeness.
Mhm.
So one partner who gives the facial expression is feeling vulnerable because they're hurting. The other partner sees the facial expression, is feeling vulnerable because they're scared. And then all of a sudden they're just attacking each other,
Yeah.
right? Well, you don't understand. Well, you did this, and they're blaming. When what's underneath for one is, wow, this really hurt. And I get really scared that I'm not important to you and that I'm not enough for you to prioritize me. And the other person is saying, I love you so much. And I'm scared that when you see that I've made this mistake, that means I'm not a good enough partner for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if they talked like that, if they shared what's underneath, kind of the iceberg analogy, there's a little bit up top, but a lot underneath. If they shared what was underneath the waterline, they would have so much more capacity for connection and more availability, and they become reachable by each other, and they become responsive to each other. Because if you're in a relationship with somebody that you love and they say, oh man, I'm really hurting,
Yeah.
then your instinct is naturally to reach towards them. But nobody wants to hug a cactus. So if you reach forward with bristles or pokes, then the other person is also going to take a step back.
Mm.
And then it'll escalate. And it doesn't just stop there, it snowballs over time.
Oh, gotcha. So what would you say to couples now who are going through that?
Oh,
Because
what would I say? Yeah.
it does take, you know, because like you were saying, it does take, you know, some self-awareness, definitely. Um, and, that communication, however, many individuals, and I don't mean this in a negative way, I just mean, it sometimes self-awareness can be a process. So some individuals,
Sure.
they could just be going throughout their relationships in this world or in a relationship right now and not have any clue of like why the action is, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
it seems like it's this repeated cycle, right? And so it's kind of like you don't know if you don't know, right? Like it's like this blind, it's like this form of autopilot. So someone could be in a relationship right now, and they're going through that and they just have this aha moment. What would you say to them? Is there anything that you would encourage them to do? Any word of wisdom? Anything? Like what would you say?
Um, I think that if they're listening to this and they're thinking, wow, stuff like that happens in my relationship, then that is the first step of awareness. So you have to notice that something is going on that feels
Hmm.
not good, right? Something is making you feel vulnerable and you're reacting to that. And if you notice that, probably the programming that you do is pretty automatic. And so, in hindsight, the first step is really just to notice what that is.
Hmm.
Like, are you raising your voice?
Yeah.
Are you blaming?
Hmm.
What is happening? How do you feed into this cycle? And there has to be an ownership component, because I think a lot of the time couples come to therapy or come to coaching and they say, we want to work on this, but inside they're like, I need you to make my partner more available to me, or I need you to make my partner do more chores. And you can't expect your partner to change in ways that you aren't willing to take a look at and work
Hmm.
on as well. They aren't in this relationship alone, and neither are you.
Hmm.
So really thinking, what is it that I do
Hmm.
in these moments that feel uncomfortable, when I feel hurt, when I feel scared, when the thought I'm not enough, or I'm too much, or I'm not lovable pops in.
Hmm.
How do I react to that with this person that I really care about? What do
Hmm.
I do? And once you start to notice that, then there are opportunities to start to change it. But you're right, you can't change anything that you're not aware of.
Mhm.
So the first step is really to become aware of what your
Mhm.
pattern is and you're part of that pattern.
Right, right. Awesome. Wonderful. Very, very wise therapeutic words there. You know your stuff. Yep, you know your stuff. Okay, and so how do our personal systems create or break?
I'm sorry, say that again.
How do our personal systems create or break?
Create or break.
Yes.
So,
In terms of the relationships, whether it's friends, romantic, just, our personal systems.
well, the way we attach to other humans is biological. We're born needing that attachment.
Mhm.
If we don't have that as babies, it's literally as important to us as food,
Mhm.
because if we don't have it, babies in orphanages that have no contact will die.
Right.
And we grow up and we can be alone and we don't literally die, but the nervous system component in our bodies is still alive and well. It still feels like life or death
Mm.
for us to be attached to this person we care about or not. And when something happens that feels like it disrupts that attachment, then our our stress response just goes on overdrive.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that happens in milliseconds when you're driving and all of a sudden your brain realizes you're veering off the road. You just
Mm.
correct.
Right.
But in this case, your body and your nervous system is has been designed over time to keep yourself as safe from the things that hurt you through attachment as possible. And so we walk around with armor on all the time.
Mhm.
And something I hear a lot is, well, I don't respond this way at work, or I don't respond this way with my friends. And often the reason why we respond that way in romantic relationships and not other places is because the romantic relationship is much higher stakes and much more important to our attachment system than
Mhm.
any other relationship. So
Hmm.
the way those parts of us make or break a relationship is ultimately, how do the pieces of our need fit
Mhm.
together?
Mhm.
But it's more than that, because I don't necessarily believe in like inherent compatibility and incompatibility between two
Mhm.
people,
Mhm.
but it's more like, what are you as a couple or you as an individual willing to do in the face of this challenge,
Yeah.
that you two have different ways of connecting with another human being? Are
Mhm.
you willing to stretch yourself in a way that's kind of uncomfortable sometimes in order to help your partner feel less alone in their life?
Yeah.
Uh, for example, when my husband's nervous system gets activated, he gets quiet, he shuts down, and his energy gets all kinds of pokey.
Mhm.
And that activates me to not being able to go close.
Mhm.
So we've really had to work on him vocalizing, I'm having some big feelings of some kind. I really need you close.
Mhm.
And on the other side, when I notice that that's happening, and even when he doesn't vocalize, I try to get a little bit closer.
Right.
It's not perfect. Sometimes it's messy and a little clunky, but we get there.
Yeah.
And I think that is where our personal systems come in.
Right.
It's like,
Mhm.
how are you looking at this system that where the puzzle pieces aren't quite matching up, and how can
Mm,
you be willing to go through the mess and the imperfection, which is
mm,
inherently vulnerable and makes all of your protective systems on high alert
mhm,
to say like, hey,
mhm.
if you do this, you're going to get really hurt, they're going to pull away.
Yeah.
But actually probably not. Probably if you continue doing exactly what you're doing right now,
Mhm.
that is what will cause the relationship to end.
Mm. Yeah, very true. Oh my gosh, wow, that's powerful. Woo! Dr. Rachel, whoa, have you ever thought about writing a book?
My husband asks me to do that at least once or twice a year.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah.
It's definitely on my bucket list.
Okay, great, great, great. Well, even if it's in 5, 6 years from now, you email me and I will let the listeners know.
Thank
Um,
you.
I do have a question. This is just me personally. So, because I don't understand this, but I'm like, maybe you might, because, you know, this is like relationships is kind of like your field of expertise, right? I'm not putting you on a
Mhm.
pedestal. I'm not saying everyone's perfect. We're all humans, we're all growing. But
Oh,
some individuals
totally.
have,
I'm a human.
yes, exactly. Some individuals have different fields of expertise. And um, so let's say there are individuals that want such a great relationship. Like, let's say they want communication, they want this, they want that, but they don't possess that themselves. And so when that comes into their life, they don't have these qualities that they're asking for, and they don't even w- know or want to do what it takes to even maintain that um, healthy relationship. Why is that so common?
Well, I think that there have been, sorry, I have cat hair all over my face. Um, I think that there have been a lot of messages over our history around relationships. And even deeper than that, about emotion and how we deal with emotion and what is okay and not okay about emotion. You know, one child, if they act out and their parent says, stop it, don't cry, there's nothing to be upset about. Well, that same child can learn, I have to be quiet.
Mhm,
My emotions aren't okay. They're not acceptable here. Or perhaps they learn the only way I get any attention is to have big emotions.
mhm,
And so there's that component, how we were programmed. And then there's this other component where media, through movies like rom-com,
mhm,
through social media, and the Facebook life phenomenon, all of these components add up for people to think if my relationship has any conflict, if there's anything that doesn't perfectly sync the puzzle pieces,
mhm,
then it's not a workable relationship. And there's a lot of messaging in the social media sphere around
mhm,
relationships and self-help that
mhm,
says basically like you you don't have to change for your relationship. Now, I'll preface this by saying like, no, I don't want you to become a completely different person with different wants, needs, uh in relationships. I don't want you to, reorganize who you are.
mhm,
But yes, we do have to change to be in a relationship with another person. And that change is different in each relationship we might be in
mhm,
because we are not dating a carbon copy of ourselves.
Right.
And if you are, you're probably not really happy about it because no one looks in the mirror and is like, yeah, exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are things, this is why in the beginning, somebody who's, you know, really in the box, does everything by the rules, is really attracted to that free spirit who spends wildly and goes on trips at a moment's notice. Like, they're really attracted to that person. And then 5 years down the road, it drives them crazy that they can't balance their bank account, that they want to stay home for the weekend, but their partner wants to explore.
Mm-hmm.
And we just think, if I hide parts of myself in the beginning, or I'm not honest about it, about what I'm willing or not willing to do for a relationship, then we'll lose the partner. And you might, but then you might actually find somebody who feels more in line with what your needs are. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're in the relationship with somebody and you care about them, then yes, you will have to adjust your life and your reactions
Mm.
to care for that person, as they should be doing for you as well.
Right. Right. Oh, wonderful. Okay, I have two more questions for you.
Yeah.
So, someone struggling with depression, anxiety, other forms of mental illness,
Hmm.
um, when is it when is it too early to, like, when do we tell them, the person that we're going on dates with? Like, do we tell them first date, second date? Like, when do we share that information?
Yeah, I think that that is really up to the person and when they feel
Mhm.
comfortable with that other person.
Right, right,
It's not, having a mental illness is not a disease in that it's not communicable.
right.
It does sometimes create challenges in the relationship sphere. Somebody
Mhm.
who's anxious is, their brain is running 1,000 miles a minute. Like, there's certain impacts on a relationship. Somebody who's depressed might be more withdrawn at
Mhm.
times from the relationship. And so as you learn, you grow trust in your relationship with that person when you feel like, I can share this with them because they won't judge me, or I
Right,
think they'll be accepting, or things are getting more serious. So I feel like it's important for them to know that this impacts my life at some point.
right.
Then, then that's the time to tell them. First or second date, that might feel too early to tell something so personal for one person,
Mhm.
but it might feel exactly the right time for somebody else
Mhm.
to tell them, because if somebody off the bat isn't going to be able to handle that there's real human stuff in the mix, then
Right,
you want to know about that right away.
right, right. Before you
And
get
like,
too attached.
everybody has something,
Mhm.
whether it's medical or mental or family or job or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Everybody has something.
Mhm.
And it's just, what challenges are you willing or not willing to work with through the course of your relationship? Because there is not going to be somebody who is perfect,
Right,
right? There's not going to be somebody without problems. And if they are today, they're not going to be that same way 15 years from now.
right, right, right. Okay. Interesting. I like that.
My husband and I met
Mhm.
um, when I was in my early 30s,
Mhm.
and we were, and of course, he thought I was perfect, but he knew, I mean, realistically, he knew all my baggage before we got
Mhm.
married. But then, we tried to have a baby and we couldn't. And it was my body that couldn't.
Mhm.
And So this is what I mean. Like, you might not know a thing that's going to be there at the
Right.
point that you're deciding on this relationship
Right.
that could impact you 5, 10, 15 years later. Somebody
Mhm.
gets cancer, somebody has a stroke, somebody gets into a car accident. Like, all these things happen. And so mental illness is one of those things. You might not have depression today, but 10 years from now, you might.
Right. Hmm. Right.
I would really love to see mental illness become so much more normalized and less
Mhm.
stigmatized. So it's not
Right.
something we have to break the news about to somebody.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And my final question is for those who've experienced sexual trauma as a child or just throughout any forms of life, when they find someone, I know for some, not all, but for some, sexual trauma, what it does is it'll make us close off towards sex. Even though we're interested in someone, we feel like we're we're attracted to them. So how does someone navigate that? Because if someone's like in a relationship, like how does someone like who's been sexually abused and is struggling to um show that sexually intimate side with their partner, what do you suggest that they do? Because my thing is like when I have a partner, if I get a partner, I want to, this is what I always thought about. I want to go to couples therapy so that I can, I don't know, like better feel safe to do that with my partner. Because this question is completely about me, by the way. It's about me. Um, so like, because my past of sexual abuse has definitely me where I'm just like, okay, I can be intimate in every other area, like emotional intimacy, vulnerability, etc. But when it comes to sexual intimacy, it's just like I hit a wall. What are but I know there's others like they're like me. I've met them.
Absolutely.
So what are as from a as a therapist, and if you don't know, that's okay. There's no pressure. But as a therapist, like what would you recommend? What would you say?
Well, I think part of it was something that you actually hit on, which is safety, right? Sex is the most physically vulnerable that we can be,
Mm,
right? We're naked. There are things going in places, out places. Like,
mhm,
that is very vulnerable.
right,
And if, and our bodies remember trauma. So even though it has nothing to do with the person sitting right in front of you, your body is remembering something from your history. And if it's closing down,
mm,
I'm going to go back to what we talked about earlier. And that's one of the ways we protect ourselves, right? We pursue or withdraw. So that withdrawal, closing in on yourself, not feeling comfortable with intimacy, with touch, is one of the ways we protect. The way to work beyond that is to create a relationship of deep security and safety
mhm,
and go slow.
right,
So there's been research done on couples that are older than 65, have been together 25 plus years, and are self selected in for great sex.
mhm,
And when they were asked what the components of great sex were, like the attributes of their partner or their relationship, it wasn't about money or looks or dates or what you did or technique. It wasn't any of that. It was empathy and communication.
mhm,
And so, in order for there to be great sex within that, you have to have pleasure
Mhm.
and you have to create an environment of ultimate safety. That means at any point between your finger touching the person's shoulder to all the way through intercourse, whatever that means, then that person can say stop
Mhm.
and it's okay. There are other ways to continue connection in that moment other than physical intimacy, that if that person says stop, you switch into that mode. Maybe you cuddle or you sit next to each other on the couch and share a cup of hot cocoa. Whatever that moment is, that continues the safety without judgment and without pushing.
Mm.
Because it's not a rejection of that partner, it's a body response that in that moment is uncontrollable. But with that person, that body can learn to relax.
Mm.
Now, I don't know how long it takes, right? Everybody's individual. It could
Mhm.
be a matter of days, weeks, months, or years,
Right, right.
but that body can learn to relax with that person. We can create secure attachment with another individual, even if we've never had it before in our
Mm.
families of origin
Wow.
or in other relationships before.
Mm. Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? Not only I'm gonna listen to this episode a lot, um, shall I find a person that I'm seeing going on dates with? I'm gonna have them listen to this episode. I'm
That's
just
so
gonna
funny.
have them listen to this episode. I was like, Dr. Rachel said it way better than if I just try to like verbalize it to you. I was just like, just let's listen to Dr. Rachel.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
Oh, I'm so serious too. I'm so serious. I'm like, yeah, Dr. Rachel.
I mean,
She's
if talking about this
mm,
helps anyone feel more normal in their messiness, that is just being human, of which there is currently no cure, then, you know, you know, give this to your partner, have them listen to it together, talk about it. Not as a, hey, partner, you're doing this wrong, but as a, I want us to grow in our safety and security together.
wonderful. Exactly. That's exactly what I wanted. That's exactly how I want to do that too. Oh my gosh. Well, Dr. Rachel, thank you for coming on the show. Stay on a couple of seconds after I'm about to close out the show and stay on. Um, Folks, if no one today has told you that you are worthy of love, that your relationship is worthy of healing, allow me to be the first and allow yourself to be the second. You are worthy of love as you are, and your relationship is worthy of healing. Alrighty, folks. So see y'all next episode for whatever that will be.